So you probably already know that metals can weld together under high heat. But this, very surprisingly, can also happen without any heat and is known as cold welding. But let's first focus on the welding part. Now we're going to weld two pieces of metal together, for which we're going to need the following. The metal parts, some heat, and our skilled chef.
Now, if we heat it all up like this, maybe add some salt, but not too much. Maybe a bit of oxide, should be just about done. And voila! We have a welded mess in our hands.
Now, the important part was the heat and also the oxide in our air, okay? Remember that. Now, back to the cold welding part. Cold welding. How can two metals weld without any heat? You see, here on Earth, metals aren't purely clean. Take this piece of iron, for example. If we zoom in onto the atomic level, we'll see that it has a protective oxide layer. This means that when we press two pieces together, they aren't actually touching. The outer layers are. Now, if we were to remove those layers and let the two pieces touch, they would weld together. How so? Well, bringing back 8th grade chemistry class, metals are structured with a lattice of positively charged ions and a sea of freely moving electrons. And with that separating layer gone, the metals won't have a way to know that they're in different pieces and will weld together. You look like an idiot.
I indeed do look like an idiot.
So what you're saying is this can only happen if there's nothing around the metals, as in a vacuum, right?
Yes, and you may ask, but where on earth would there be one? Well, nowhere. Instead, we have to go to space! For example, the spacecraft Galileo was headed for Jupiter in 1991. It was supposed to extend its long-range antenna to transmit data, but it got stuck in place. It had cold welded. And nothing the scientists tried would make it open.
You'll succeed next time.
So in the end, they had to give up and use the smaller, less capable antenna. But of course, we can create an artificial vacuum here on Earth too, and wear the oxide layer off. And it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It can be used in many ways. For example, microelectronics. When working on a very small scale, like a chip for your phone, you do not want to have to pinpoint heat, since you're just going to end up with a welded mess. Instead, you can create a vacuum, and when you push the metals together, they'll create a perfect weld. There will be nothing left to indicate these were once separate pieces. And there you have it, cold welding. A little quirk that turned out to be very useful for our modern gadgets. Bye!
You think the insurance will cover this fire damage?
I think they only cover accidental fires.
It was accidental.
Of course it was. Please call them up and get things sorted.